Welcome to the I Am a Solution show. I'm your host, Coach Warren. Today, we got a really special guest, really great friend of mine, First Lady Miss Kim Thomas from Rafa Ministries, right in the heart of Homewood, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Upland Street. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach Warren.
Yes,
I appreciate you allowing me to come on and share some good information for the community.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we got a good relationship. We've been working together for a few years now. Mm-hmm. Your grandsons went to Imani, and
right.
You know, I had the pleasure of checking one of them right in front of you.
Yes, you did. Yes,
because you can't disrespect folks in front of me,
right.
And I just walk away. I'm not built like that. So,
right.
Just real quick story. We were, I want to say we were at a game or we were in the gym. We were at the school.
Yeah.
And, you know, grandma, this is the grandma of the young men that we're talking about. And, you know, I saw her saying, hey, let's go. And one of the younger guys, her younger grandson, kind of bucked up at her and was just talking real reckless. The tone was off, the body language was off,
right.
and so I didn't really know her. I seen her around,
right,
but
right,
I just, you know, I went into fatherhood mode and just straight checked the kid, like, don't be doing that in front of me. Don't be disrespecting your grandma. And I just laid down the rules of how you act when you walking around me and when you walking around your grandma. And I said, if she called me about this, we gonna have a problem.
Right.
And this is like, I didn't even know her. But from then, she said, and then I said, you know what, I got a basketball team. Let's.
Right.
And you was like, my grandson is, interested. And I said, all right, let's sign them both up.
Right.
And even though the youngest one didn't really want to play, we figured out a way for him to be involved and be comfortable with what we were doing. But ultimately, respect and respecting your elders and respecting your parents is something you got to do in front of me, or we'll instantly have an issue. Right. So how did you feel about that when I did that?
I thought it was fantastic. I said, hallelujah. Someone sees it and someone stepped in. And that's the importance of we as people being a part of the community, being a part of the village, to help out where we see and it's evident that change needs to take place.
So, back in the day, neighbors used to be able to check neighbors, and there wasn't really no issue because everybody had relationships. Not so much now, So for me to do that, I think some parents would, side eye me like, "Yo, why are you talking to my kids like that?" But you accepted the way I corrected them,
right?
Because it wasn't out of me. I wasn't trying to scare them.
No.
But it was more about respecting you in public.
Right.
And so if they would do that to you in public, in my mind, what are these kids doing in private?
Right.
And then so, as we got to know each other, I got to know your story a little bit.
Right.
And I wondered how you were charged with taking care of these kids.
Right.
And I Am a Solution is about finding solutions to stopping the violence in the community and violence prevention and things like that. And it's just work that we've been doing off camera for years and years and years. And you connected with me for me to bring you on this show because you have some things that happened to you that allowed you to take care of your grandkids, and some violence that happened to you personally. So would you like to share a little bit about that
I don't mind.
kind of, how it affected you? How did the violence?
My children were raised in the church. We we have God as far as our home, as the head of our home, but sometimes your children want to find their own way or want to go the direction that they want to go. And my only son, who has never been a disrespectful young man, who has always been respectful and kind and compassionate to others, because that's the way we raised him, got himself caught up in a situation of which right now we don't know the whole story, but with God's help, we were able to find out some of it. And I got a call January 10th, 2016, while I was in the hospital visiting with my dad, who was very sick. And I got a call from Mercy Hospital, and of course I hope I don't get emotional, but it's as if it just happened when you think about it. But when I got the call, the young lady said, "This is so and so from Mercy Hospital, and we have your son." And I just screamed, "Don't say it," because I thought she was going to say he's dead. Don't say it. And I jumped up, ran out of my father's hospital room in Shadyside, jumped in a car with my daughter, zoomed over to Mercy Hospital, and when I got there, it was a sight that no mother would ever want to have to experience, of the first sight of seeing your child, my only son, laying up there fighting for his life. And it was a struggle, but he lived in the ICU on life support from the 10th of January to the 29th of January. And the day he coded, I was there, and it was the worst. And they let me in the room. They were working on him, and it was the worst experience. And if you are not careful, those thoughts will cause you to keep going back and reliving it. But through the peace of God and the force and the love of God, it's helped me to continue. And then, I was troubled because I didn't know what really happened. There's always different stories, and you don't know what's really going on. But I had actually, without even realizing who the person was, ran into him about 4 years after it happened. And, he was drunk and a little high, and you know what they say, when you're drunk, that's when the truth comes out.
You start spitting that truth.
And he called me, and I kept saying, are you calling me? And he was like, "Yes, ma'am, I'm so-and-so." And the moment he said his name, I got up to run to start fighting him. But by the time I got to him, I was embracing him, and he was crying, I was crying, and he was asking me to forgive him.
But you didn't know what for.
No, I didn't know what for. And then he spoke it and told it. He said, "I didn't think he was going to die. I just choked him out." And all of those years I had been tormented as to wondering what was going on, because every mother or parent or even family member, when things happen, they don't know what really happened. But for the person to say that, and it was out of nowhere, I just said, "I forgive you." And I know it was God, but I know that a lot of times people don't understand it, but forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you.
It's for self.
So I was able to forgive him, and I've never seen him again. I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's in jail. I don't know if he's in hell. I don't know where he is. But I had to release that charge that I had on him. I knew all the while something had happened, and he had something to do with it, but I wasn't sure.
But you wasn't sure.
But from that, my design that I had created from, the Lord had blessed me to create from an accident in 1996. The Whatever the Challenge, Don't Quit. That came into play because, you're going through
one of the toughest times.
Oh my God, it was the worst. It was the worst.
So before we get into the Don't Quit piece, so tell us about your son. What was his name? What kind of things was he into?
His name was Jeremiah Larry Thomas II. And when he was in second grade, very resourceful little kid. He tested out as a 6th grader, so we knew he was a genius.
Yeah.
And his thoughts were really deep, but he always had the compassion and heart for other people. And of course, that comes from training.
Yeah.
And he was the nicest young man. He started his own business called BDM Consultants, $1 Billion Minds.
Okay.
And he wanted to inspire young people that their minds and things and the thoughts and the designs that they have in their minds can become $1 billion design or $1 billion thought. Yeah. And so he was always trying to encourage people. He had his shortcomings.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a mother that tries to sugarcoat stuff. He had his shortcomings, but he was altogether a nice young man.
Right.
And when he died at and when he had just turned, I think it was 32, and it was like a painful thing, because you want your child to live a long life. Right. No parent wants to bury their children.
Right.
And it was very difficult, but he was a good kid. He was a very nice young man, and life took its turn. Yeah. And now we're raising our grandchildren. Yeah. You know. And
your grandchildren are when you got them, how old?
When we got them, they were 6 and 8. Their mom, sadly, is on suffering from addiction.
Okay.
And so we end up getting custody of Jeffrey and Jaden when they were 6 and 8, and then their mom had another child, and because she's suffering from her addiction, we end up getting her as a baby. Okay. So they're now 16, 14, and 7. Well, Jasmine will be 7. So it's been a struggle, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
So you've had to ultimately become a mother all over again.
All over again.
To children who were your sons, who was lost, and
well, two were my sons. The baby came after my son died.
So was that your son's child, or
no?
You just
no, we just
said
we didn't want her
together.
Right. We did not want that baby, that beautiful little girl, to go into the system. And you see those shows where 30 years later someone's seeing their brother or sister for the first time. I just couldn't mentally handle that. I said, no, they're siblings. They need to be together. Yeah. So, it was rough. It was rough staying up all night, making bottles all over again. Yeah. But I mean, when you see their destiny and you see their future, you know that the trials that you're going through now will be worth it later.
Absolutely.
Right.
So let me ask you this. So how have the children of your son, and even your granddaughter, how have they been through this process?
And it's amazing that you asked this question, and I'm glad that you have asked it, because a lot of times when there is a death, or whether it be by murder, by suicide, or just natural causes, we as adults are so caught up in our emotions and our pain that the children get looked over.
Right.
And
because there is an effect on the kids.
My God, the trauma that these kids go through, and they are children not knowing how to verbalize what they're feeling.
Right.
And my grandsons, my son was not just a father in name. My son was the hands-on father.
Right.
And he would always say, everything that maybe I didn't experience, I want to make sure they experience. So he would take them to the river and let them go fishing, and put them on the bike and ride the bike with them. And my grandsons used to say, when they were 6 and 8, when I would tell them that they have to straighten up the room, they would say, my dad always said, even if you're living on the street in a cardboard box, keep it clean.
Keep it clean.
So the treasures that they have and the memories that they have are excellent, but the pain that they went through, sometimes it went overlooked as the adults, because I'm in my pain, and I'm thinking that this 6 and 8 year old really can't comprehend it, but they really, now that they're 14 and 16, and then when they were 10 and 12, we put them in therapy, and a lot of times African American families don't often believe in therapy and grief therapy. But my daughter is a therapist.
Okay.
And so she was, Mom, you gotta get them into therapy because she's dealt with children who have gone through this trauma. Right. And she said it doesn't come out good if they don't have some way to vent and express themselves.
Even at 6, 7, and 8.
Even at 6, 7, and 8.
Because you would think, Dad takes me to the river and we go bike ride, we go to the park, we go to the movies, we do all these things, and then all of a sudden
he's gone.
It stops.
Yeah.
And then he's gone.
And then the mom's
then
gone.
You don't really truly understand what death is, honestly.
Right.
And then now, Mom is gone.
Right.
And so now you're growing up in an unnatural situation.
Right.
But it's being normalized. And so as they get older.
Isn't that sad that it's now the norm that the grandparents are taking care of the children, and that in the world sense is normal, but it's not.
It's not.
Children want their parents. I remember, and their mom, she does keep in contact.
Okay.
We do now. We do. She calls as much as she can. Thank God for that. She's understanding, and she's always loved her children. So I don't want it to put it out there that she's just not. She's a mother that didn't want. But when you're having addiction,
different.
When you are addicted to something, it controls you, and it doesn't mean that you don't love your children. And I'm learning that through going through therapy. That because a lot of times you're angry because you want the parents to do right. But that addiction it's bad, and that's what a lot of these children are experiencing. The addiction of their mother or their father, and going through homes with no food and being abused and being beat on, and then you're wondering why they come to school and they you can't understand why they can't get why 2 + 2 is 4. It's because they're trying to forget what they keep remembering, and the pain of what they're going through is real.
So let me ask you this, because I do know this about you. You've worked in the school system for years. I want to say, what, the
Duquesne City School District for 21 years, and then once Duquesne was taken over by the state, I went and worked for Wilkinsburg School District, and in Duquesne I worked in the special education department. So
let me ask you this: how has you've seen it on the front lines? And you're experiencing it with your grandchildren, trauma that has been placed on the kids or that they've been going through, and then they have to go to school, right? And then let's say they put these kids in these special needs classes, but that's not their issue. Their issue is that they're suffering from
trauma,
these missing pieces, right?
And a lot of times, what I learned in working in the special education department by typing the psychological reports and doing the IEPs and typing up the NORAPs, you get to read the personal history of the child. So a lot of these children are trying to express something without saying a word. They want to tell you, I'm being abused, somebody help me. But they don't know how to articulate it, or they're afraid that if they say something, Mom's gonna be mad, because sometimes it's the mom's boyfriend. Or I've done psychological reports where the mother was selling and pimping out the children to the drug dealer because she couldn't pay for the drugs. So you have all of this trauma that is wrapped up in these children, and then they're told, go to school, be on time. And now we have breakfast in schools, but back then they had breakfast, but a lot of times kids were late, so they missed breakfast. There's no food in the school. And there's no food at the home. They're going through all of this world of trauma. And then you want them to know, or want them to come to the teacher with open arms and say,
you want to time them on the tests. And you want to do these certain things, but you're not. Look, I really truly believe teachers are underpaid, one. They're undervalued, two. And that they need more support, three.
Absolutely.
Because if you have a classroom of 15 to 20, these are 15 to 20 different personalities that you have to deal with. All 15 to 20 don't learn the same.
Right.
And so you have to break some things down, and you got to get to know certain kids to get the best out of them.
And then a lot of times these children are like time bombs because they're so angry about what's happening to them. When my son was in second grade, he had a best friend, I won't mention his name, and his best friend's mom was on drugs. And so he was telling my son different things that was going on in his house, and he started coming over every weekend to stay at our house.
Yeah.
So I, back then, said to the mother, you know, I know that you're going through. Why not just let your son stay with us? And then what we could do is make sure that he gets to school, because I was working at the school.
Right.
Make sure he gets to school, and then on the weekends he can come home.
Yeah.
And so for about a year, or about a little bit more than a year, he stayed with us.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, we didn't see him anymore because she had sold him to the drug dealer. And then he was arrested. The man was arrested. The child went to Auberly, foster care and all of that, because we couldn't take him back.
Right.
But the unfortunate thing was, I didn't just see it with an absent eye. I literally experienced it.
Right.
When a child is being reinforced, and that's why it's so important to speak positive, even in a bad day.
Yeah.
Positive words, the power of the spoken word is real.
It is.
Positive words bring about change, because even though these kids are going through what they're going through, if they can get somebody to say, you can make it, don't you give up.
Right.
If I always say to the kids that come to our church, I give them a lesson almost every week. Now look, remember, if the crowd is going to the left, you automatically turn and go to the right. You know,
road less traveled.
I'm telling you. So but this isn't just happening in Pittsburgh and in the Homewood area. This is happening throughout the country.
And it's almost identical, right? So let's talk about solutions real quick, because I want to get to two other things.
Okay.
Because you are in a real interesting space, and we're talking about violence prevention. We're talking about the effects of it. We're talking about how you get through it. So when it comes to the schools, what from your opinion, from your standpoint, what should be done, what could be done as a solution to maybe addressing some of those things that, you know, maybe the teachers aren't even aware of, because some of the teachers don't even
I was going to say
connect.
I was going to say
way,
that. I was going to say, first of all, I think that there should be a tremendous amount of training for the teachers.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand, it's like apples, the children are apples, and the teachers are airplanes. They're not even in the same, they're not even in, now there are some teachers that can relate. Right. There are some teachers that have taken and gone that extra mile. So I'm not saying it's all teachers. There were excellent teachers in Duquesne, and there were very bad teachers in Duquesne.
Yeah, and that's everywhere.
And it's everywhere. Yeah. So, and the most important thing is, when a child is trying to tell you something, as a parent, investigate. Don't say, oh, they're not telling the truth. If a child is telling you something is going down in school, it is your responsibility to tell your boss, I'm going to come in late so that I can go to a parent-teachers meeting to find out what's going on. But what's happening is there's a large disconnect because you have, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you have young teachers that are graduating from different colleges that are excited about teaching, and then you are saying, welcome to this school, right, where you have 22, well, back when I was working for Duke, it was almost 30, 31 kids in a class. Okay. So you have this large amount of children, and 19 of them have issues that are trying to express themselves, and if you touch them wrong, they're going to explode. Right. And this teacher is not experiencing that.
Or equipped.
Right. And so, and then you have a lot of teachers that sit back and just say, I don't care. I'll just pass them just to get rid of them. Yeah. And so and the truth of the matter is, there has to be a collective wraparound for these children. Mm-hmm. It's not let's do studies on them and get millions of dollars from, like most corporations do. They do studies, and the CEOs and the people make millions of dollars off the backs of the kids.
Prescribing that medicine.
It's just unbelievable.
Right.
When all these kids, and let me give you an example very quickly. In Duquesne, I was the special education secretary. There was nowhere in the curriculum where there was a gospel choir, no space where there was a gospel choir. And I said, I want to reach these kids through song. Every child loves music, no matter who you are, where you come from. I said, can we just try it?
Yeah.
I have the videotapes to prove it. 40 kids from different backgrounds, some that people would see as hoodlums, and some as people would describe as very intelligent children, all coming together with one purpose, and that was to sing.
Yeah.
We sang at the David Lawrence Convention Center for something that they were having, and those kids were so excited.
Yeah.
I would take my little bit of money, buy them food, make sure that they had something to eat, and we would practice and practice and practice. And then some of our church choir members would sing along with them, because a lot of these kids didn't even know how to sing, but they wanted to be in the choir.
They wanted to be a part of something.
I am 61 years old. That happened many, many years ago. Do you know those young people who are now adults still thank me?
Listen, the power of music is real. I mean, all you got to do is just look around.
Because
a lot of the music right now is leading our kids into some spaces that they really
There's good music,
right?
And there's some very bad music.
Because once you there's a response to both,
right?
Because there's a lot of young parents. I'm a young parent, and when I had my kids, I was about 17, 18, 19 years old. So, BET, MTV, 106 in Park, Rap City, all that stuff, that was on the TV, right? And so, it does have an influence, but I noticed that if I oversaturate with just that, because I grew up, I grew up with my grandfather and my father. They played the old school hits that are still being played today.
Right.
There was a vibe. There was that Frankie Beverly. There was like you could feel a difference. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And so there is very, very much power in music, and I would encourage the people listening to switch your music up, please.
Yes.
Play some positive stuff in the morning. It can't be trapped out all day, because a trap is a trap is a trap.
Right. Well, you know what I liked about Imani too? When the kids walked into the school at the time when my grandkids were going there, the music was playing, and it literally changes the mindset. When I've seen it within my family. If I wake up and we've overslept and I'm screaming and hollering, "Come on, you're late, let's go. Did you hear me call you?" Right. All of that negative vibe transfers over to the child, that he's going to school mad. He's going to school mad. But put on, it's going to be a lovely day.
Right.
And they're getting up with their clothes, got a little move to it. And then their mindset. And in Duquesne, all those kids wanted. I always get emotional when I think about kids, because I grew up in Garfield in the projects, where we stepped on roaches and ran from the rats. Yeah. I mean, there was 10 of us. We were poor as dogs. But you know what we had? My mother and father teaching us about what we can be, what we will be, how great we are going to be. We had that positive. We never had a television. Yeah. When I grew up, we didn't have a TV. We probably couldn't afford it, but we didn't have a television because my mother wanted to control what we saw. Yeah. So she had a 16 millimeter projector, and she would rent movies from Carnegie Library, and they were all educational. For Christmas, we only got board games. Yeah. I can tell you exactly what's on Monopoly and how much you would have to pay, because that's all we did. We played Scrabble. Yeah. I'm just saying the force of positive words, the force of positive thinking. If the teachers every day from today up until the end of the school year, every day said to these young people when they walked into class, I want you to declare and decree, today's going to be a great day. Yeah. Even if you're mad.
It changes the atmosphere.
It changes the atmosphere. Words have brought wars, and words have brought peace.
Right.
So you were asking me what can happen in schools.
Yeah.
The power of the spoken word, even if the teacher is angry, because you have to understand, some teachers are angry when they come in to school. They're mad at their family members or mad at their husband. So the kids are being embraced with that negativity too. So
let's talk about your don't quit.
Okay.
And we'll get right into that. The power of the spoken word is something you believe in, right?
Right.
And you have a brand that you created.
Right.
And now tell me how you started that.
Okay. So December 9th, 1996, I was in a really bad accident coming over the Duquesne Bridge, going into Duquesne. The young lady that was driving hit ice, went out of control, crashed into another man coming up, killed him instantly, and I went into the windshield. I wasn't secured. I went into the windshield while my legs were caught on their glove compartment, and I broke my neck, broke my back in 2 places, crushed my pelvis in 9 places. I have the pictures.
Wow.
And fractured my wrist. My legs were all stitched up, and I was I was life flighted by Stat Medevac. Yeah, God is a healer.
Yeah, I would have never knew that.
Yeah. When and you see the halo marks.
Yeah.
If people don't know my story, because I had no side effects, but I was life flighted to the trauma unit of Presbyterian Hospital off the helicopter. Stat Medevac landed on the Duquesne Bridge. Life flighted me. Matter of fact, back in those days, I think it was like a $20,000 6-minute trip. That's how much they charged me. I think it was $20,000 just to get from Duquesne to the Presby. I got the bill. That's all I knew. Yeah. But anyways, I was in the trauma unit for a couple of days. Then I was transferred to the Rehabilitation Institute that used to be stationed where their home for the crippled children is in Squirrel Hill. Yeah. And that's where my husband worked. And so I had to learn how to walk. I had the halo apparatus. I was a head injury. I went through a whole lot. All of my teeth were loose, but never fell out. But within, I would say, 6 to 9 months, God completely healed me. So, but going through that trauma, I was just overwhelmed because my children were young. Yeah. My husband's sister flew in for 6 months, took care of the kids for me. Matter of fact, I wish she was alive today because she kept that house clean. Yeah. but I mean, it was a traumatizing experience, and I had just one day just going through, and all I heard in my head was, "Kimberly, cry if you must, slow down if you have to, just don't quit." And then I got on the computer, and out of nowhere the design came, and then I trademarked it, and I've just. My designs, they give hope. It's a force of encouragement that no matter how dark the day, no matter how tough it is, and these kids are going through hell. For real. I don't know if I'm allowed to say hell, but it's real. They are going through. And my interaction with them from the church and from the school, I get to see all of the side effects that they have. And they just want to make it. And so I keep thinking the power of the spoken word. Every time you speak something positive, you were talking about what could the teachers do or what could the school districts do. I shared this with Dr. Costanza from Woodland Hills when my grandson got beat up when he first went to the school, and the misconception of what was going on. He didn't even know anybody, and the kid just pulverized him, and he has a tumor on the back of his brain, and he stomped him in his head. I mean, he could have been dead, but all of that stuff gave me an opportunity to talk to the superintendent. I'm like, there has to be some form of positive force that we can give these kids to make them know that, okay, right now I know you may not have food, but we can help you. Right. We can get the food. I just showed Coach Juan a picture of what my grandson sent me. His friend showed him his refrigerator. There's no food in there. So I said, well, after here, I'm going to go to the food bank, get the kids some food, and take it to his house. These kids are going through, and when you're going through at home, it's hard to come to school and learn chemistry. Right. You're trying to figure out where you're going to get your next meal. Yeah. I remember when my boss, Pat Monroe, was the head football coach for Duquesne City School District, and he was also the school psychologist. So I got to interact with the football team, plus I was the photographer.
Yeah.
And I heard these kids one day saying, you got anything at your house to eat? And the other football player said, no, I was thinking about coming to your house. Do you have anything? I don't got nothing either. And immediately, see, we can either be a part of the solution, or we can ignore the problems and not be a part of the solution. And complain about it. So you know what I did? I contacted the Duquesne Giant Eagles, and I said, look, these kids are leaving football practice with no food they're going home to. Can you guys just make a donation? People will do and show kindness if you ask them. A lot of times we just don't want to ask. Every day after football practice, there was hoagies and drink for those football players. I didn't seek their approval. I just said, you know what? The Bible says whatever your hands find to do, do it. You don't have to, try to beat yourself on the chest that you're doing something great. Right. Just do it. These kids will thank you in the end.
You heard them. You heard the need, and you addressed it.
Yes. Yes.
And you ain't wait.
No.
You ain't complain about it. You were solution focused.
You're absolutely, and I'm telling you, the communities are filled with great, gifted young people.
Yes, they are.
Great, gifted children. When I had my business on Greensboro Pike, I would let them come, and I'm trying to get a building now because I want to be able to train and teach kids. We were doing it at Petra to teach them how to take their designs and put it on shirts, and then we would sell them for them so they can make an honest dollar. Right. Put it on the hats. Entrepreneurship. I mean, they are so gifted. But when you're battling what they're battling, we went through when we were younger. I told Coach Juan, I lived in the projects of Garfield where we killed the roaches and stepped over the rats. But you know what? Our issues were nothing like what they're going through.
We had a different set.
We had a different set of issues. So now it's like these children need to be told, I don't care what you did in your past, you still have a great destiny. Most of these kids think they're not going to live till they're 24. Yeah. Their mindset is, I'm not going to live anyways.
Hopeless.
Yeah, it's hopeless. The power of the spoken word. I just think in my head, my thoughts were, and Coach, we've all talked about it. Can you imagine every day these kids wearing, instead of Gucci, no offense Gucci and Louis Vuitton, that brings no life. Yeah. It brings no life. It makes kids wish they had it, so they do something illegal to go get it. It brings no life. But can you imagine every day some kid reading your shirt, whatever the challenge, don't quit, I love life, you can make it, I am the future. Positive reinforcement brings about change.
Thanks.
And the power of the spoken word, silent, it's just, I'm reading the shirt. T-shirts and hats it's a $1 billion business. Yeah. They bring good words and they bring bad. But if we could get people, organizations that would donate the shirts and the stuff, and we can make it. You shared it and you shared it. We just did a free clothing giveaway. I had 88 tubs of brand new clothes sitting in my basement, and I said to the Lord, what am I supposed to do with all these clothes? Because I had to close my business down in order to raise my grandkids. It was just too much for me. Yeah. And I heard, give it away. So you know what I did? I said, okay. I told the church, we're going to give all this stuff away. They didn't believe me. When they went downstairs and saw that there were mountains of tubs, just positive words. I just want to be able, I'm getting emotional, and I don't want to be emotional between two men. But I'm emotional. I'm an emotional person.
Emotional
because
too.
I see the need that these kids, they are living their lives, and they feel like they don't have any hope. And they're geniuses. They're gifted. They really are gifted kids. If we can turn that, if we can give them an in spite of attitude, in spite of what I'm going through. My mom may be on crack right now, but you know what? I know I can make it. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just with the middle school and the high school. These little kids in preschool, these little kids in first and second grade need somebody to tell them you can make it.
And I'll even go further to say even the parents. There's some parents who grow up.
You're right.
They've been in the Duquesne school system. they were one of those kids, and now
Yeah.
they have kids, and they've been through whatever they've been through. I would say the message is for them too.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. And you have, I don't believe in. I'm not a person that judges people. I'm not that. And if you're raising a child and there's not a father in the home, even though fathers are of the utmost importance, there are some things I cannot do. I don't care what people say. Mothers can't do it. They need the father figure. And that's why it's important for us as a community to be that village to push those kids. You know what I'm saying? What you did for my grandson changed his whole attitude.
Speak on that. What did Coach want to do?
Jacked him up.
That's how we started this show.
That's how we started. He jacked him up. He was being disrespectful.
Had to check it.
It needs to be done.
He checked him.
sometime.
It does, and it does, and that's for the good.
And it was out of love, and
Tough love.
she didn't take it. You know how some people, some parents, especially some of the younger parents, well, why are you talking to my son like that, or why are you talking to my daughter like that? So she needed that to happen.
It was perfect timing.
Yeah, it was perfect timing.
Perfect
so I had to
timing.
check him.
He went
and the
home a
little
changed
brother.
man.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Because I'll
So,
pull up.
yeah, he
me
was-
and Coach Moo will pull up.
Facts.
Straight up. We'll
And
pull up
that's
to the
what these
school,
young people
to
need.
the house.
That's what
Yeah.
they need. There's no respect. First of all, they don't even love themselves. They are so angry about their life. I told Coach Juan, my grandson for his birthday, Jaden, his birthday is in September, and I said, well, if you have one wish, what would you wish? He said, for my dad to be alive. Can you imagine how many kids are saying that? I do the obituaries. My business, I do obituaries for funeral homes. Every time I do a kid's obituary, it's like I'm reliving my son. And these children are young, and then you read their history. Some of these kids had scholarships in college, came home for the weekend, went to a party, they shot it up, and they're dead. I mean, some kids drowned, some kids killed. There were kids at one point, I was doing so many obituaries where they killed themselves. It traumatized me. I'm like, how do you get so hopeless that you want to just take your life without having someone to say, I don't know what you're going through, but you're worth it and you can make it, I'm telling you, if everybody right now today just went to some kid and said, I just want you to know you can make it. Sometimes when I'm driving down the street with my grandkids, we'll just pull up, and we don't want to pull up too fast because we won't want to get shot. But I'll say, you young men out there, I want you to know I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
And they're like, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Or I'll just take some Don't Quit out the car and say, here's some shirts for you guys. Whatever you're going through, don't you give up on life. Mm-hmm. Do you realize the impact that has?
Yeah.
We need more of that.
We do. Mm-hmm. We do. And I don't have, you see my nails aren't done. I don't have anything against people getting their nails done and the weaves in, looking good, because it's important to look good. But that's not what the focus should be. The focus should be on how do we make sure these kids make it to their destiny. Mm-hmm. So.
And I believe what you're doing, what we're doing, and what we're doing collectively is a solution to that.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
so what we have you on here to tell your story and to also encourage folks like yourself who have a vision, who have the passion for our young people and for people in general, mm-hmm. who can see the sadness or the lack of hope in kids and speak to it.
Right.
Because honestly, words have power.
It does.
It
really does.
And if you understand how the world was created, then it was created through a word.
Right.
And if
right.
it could create creation, then it could
Absolutely.
create hope. It can create all these things.
It can create change,
Yeah. And so that's what we're
truth.
looking for, honestly.
No, I'm liking what I'm hearing.
So you had a clothing giveaway, right?
And I still have many clothes left that I want to give away.
Are you going to do that again? Or?
We're going to do it again until it's gone. And then we have spring stuff to that. I have about 40 tubs of brand new spring stuff. We have the shorts and the tops and all of those clothes. But for right now, we have the sweatshirts. We have the T-shirts. We have long sleeve. We have short sleeve. I have some of this stuff. You want me to show some of it?
So yeah, we'll do that.
So how can people like get in touch with you if they need some of this stuff?
They can call 412-512-8530. I deal with the scammers too. It doesn't matter, but I want to get the number out there. Or they can go on DQInspirationalClothingDesigns.com. It's DQInspirationalClothingDesigns.com, and it's message me because kids are still. We're getting ready to do a giveaway at Hilltop, and they have the activity center there. And I already talked to the young lady. Hopefully, it's going to be next Saturday that we're able to get in there. And it's not, I want kids to experience nice things. So everything's on the rack, like you're going to a Macy's department store. Everything's lined up, everything's neatly put together. And then, we have the kids coming, and it doesn't even matter if the parents don't come. I just want to give the clothing to the children. Yeah. And a lot of times I have dealt with situations where people have come and then they're trying to sell the stuff or whatever. But you know what? I've just come to this conclusion. You can't stop people from doing wrong, and plus it's free advertisement. So if you're going to steal it, you're wearing Don't Quit anyways. It doesn't even matter. So it will encourage somebody else. Now, I'm not promoting you ripping me off. I'm just saying that I want to get it out there. I want to, I want to inspire these young people. You have all of these great football players, but if you can't pass your SAT and you can't get good grades, your great playing stops when you graduate. And then, they're angry because they have to go to McDonald's and get a job. But if we could inspire them to not be afraid to say, I need help. A lot of times young guys don't want to say, I need help. Yeah. They just don't. It's a pride. That's another thing. We have trained our men that boys don't cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. There's nothing wrong with saying, look, I hurt. What do you think tears are for? Your pain. So it's like to encourage them to say, look, I need help. I'm telling you, just to open up their mouth and say it. And then we can make sure that there are teachers or guidance counselors. My grandson is one of them. My grandson, Jeffrey, he's very quiet, but he runs like the wind. His coach said, man, he is one of the fastest. He runs without even trying. But he's having a problem in chemistry. And I'm like, you're sitting in a class. Open up your mouth and say, I don't understand that. Right. Man, I didn't want to go in front of the class. Like, are you kidding me? You have a chance to go and get a scholarship, but that's what's happening. We have to encourage them to open up their mouth and say, look, I need help.
And sometimes, those words, sometimes they won't hear from grandma, and they might hear from the coach. Yep. And they might hear from your mentor or, somebody who sees promise in them.
Right,
so
right.
Definitely want to encourage people to speak positive to the youth, speak positive to each other, because you never know, who's going through what. It might change somebody's life.
And I gave the kids last Sunday. We have youth service during church, so that because a lot of times the young people can't comprehend what the preacher's saying, so we take them downstairs. And I asked each one of those kids what they wanted to be when they grew up, and a lot of them said whatever they said. But you know what I didn't? Then we went a step further. I said, I want you to repeat after me. I declare and decree, I will be the greatest NFL football player ever. But before I become an NFL football player, I will graduate and go to college. Yeah. Those kids were like, you got to go to college too? Yeah, because in their mind, they think you're good at this, and then you just jump. Well, some kids might be able to jump into it.
Well, we tell the kids, what I try to tell the kids, what I try to get coaches to tell the kids is that you got to have two careers.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Your luxury career, that's if you go pro in whatever sport, because that doesn't last forever.
Right.
And then your career after your luxury.
I like that, Coach.
So when they're in school, I say, yeah, you can be an NFL player, but look at the average lifespan of it. It's what 3 to 5 years. So after that 5 years, what you
You're absolutely right.
Because you accomplished your goal.
Right.
You got to the league. But I was like, so have two careers. So school is important. And not just college, but the trades.
Right.
Because,
You're
man,
absolutely right, Coach.
the trades
is where it's
the
at.
money's at.
That's where it's at.
Immediate money.
The trades
Immediate
is where
money.
it's at.
Yeah.
Computers. People learn how the computer world
Right.
is busting out at its seams.
Yeah.
You know?
And this is the type of stuff where collaboration is good, because if you an organization that is in computers, right? But
right.
have problems getting kids involved,
Right.
this is when you need to partner with Coach Warren's
Right,
basketball team.
right,
You know what
right,
I'm saying? What
right.
all the stuff Coach Warren do, Homewood Community Sports, any of these organizations that got the kids, y'all need to have a collaboration.
You're absolutely right.
Because we got the kids, you got what they need
Right.
as far as the computer programming, you know what I'm saying? That collaboration come together, then it's a win-win.
You're
But a lot of
absolutely
people don't think like that. But this is why we kind of doing this show.
Right.
Like,
right.
so people like Aunt Kim, I call
Right.
her Aunt Kim.
Yeah.
People like Aunt Kim, like, she's a solution.
Right.
We need to be invested in with her, partnering with her, helping her out, because like you could tell people who do it from the heart. I could tell people who
Right,
do it from the heart
right.
versus the people who's just doing it.
Right.
And when you get people to do it from the heart, we gotta support them and we gotta uplift them and partner with them so that love can be felt by everybody.
Right.
And that's what we gotta strive to do. We
Right.
gotta try to spread that love to all the youth.
Absolutely.
And the families, because the parents need the love too. Man,
Right.
for real.
That's the truth.
These parents has been traumatized and they just trying to make it.
And try to make
You know
it.
what I'm saying? So we got to make sure.
And you see mothers waiting on a bus with 4 children.
That breaks my heart.
Sometimes I'll just pull up and say, "Where are you going?"
I do too.
I'll tell you. You all get in the car.
Like, that breaks
Yes.
my heart.
Oh
when I
man,
see stuff
it's
like that,
the
man.
struggle is real.
It's
The struggle
happening
is real.
Way too much.
Or if I see a little young kid in the morning walking to school or waiting at the bus stop by themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Oh yeah.
That breaks my heart. I'm
Yeah.
like, somebody can come and just snatch this
Just
little young
snatching
kid.
kids up.
You're
You know
right.
what I mean? So we gotta, but then you got a parent who gotta decide between paying bills, going to work, so that their child can have a place to live,
Right.
versus, all right, just call me when you at your bus stop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
that's why we have to come up with more solutions.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
And there are many grandparents who are sitting down wishing that they can do something. We have a grandmother at our church. She's 83, 84 years old, still cooking meals and taking them to people. I mean, there are people that really want to become involved. But I wanted to say one thing, if I can. The Don't Quit, it isn't just for underprivileged. There are kids, my daughter was sharing with me without telling all of the kids' business, children coming from rich families who are just as messed up as the kids coming from poor families. It's a universal issue. It's a universal issue. Now, of course, the rich children have the luxury of whatever they need. It's right there. But their minds are messed up.
That's what they don't
They're
get.
depressed.
Yeah.
They're on. She was telling me how the middle school kids are on strong drugs. I'm like, you're in 5th grade. You're in 6th grade.
Yeah.
How would she said, Mom? She said, I see them from both ends. She calls them both sides of the train track. She said, and the problems are the same. It's just on a different level. So when I'm encouraging kids, I'm encouraging all children, like you guys. It's not just we're focused on the inner city kids because that's where we live, that's what we see. But it's for all kids. If you need help,
The message is for everybody.
a message is for everybody. It's universal.
Thank you,
I
the First
appreciate
Lady,
you. I
Miss Kim
appreciate it.
Thomas, Rafa Ministries, whatever the challenge, don't quit. I'm your host, Coach Warren,
I'm your host, Coach Moo.
and we will check y'all out next time.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.